Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's. At one level, they're awesome, full of faith, family, friends, giving, gratitude, and renewal. But for some, at times at least, they can be marked by overspending, overindulging, loneliness, and regrets. So how could you tilt the holiday happiness quotient in your favor this year? Stay tuned as wellness coach Jill Daniels-Myers rejoins us to discuss all this and more right now on the Retirement Lifestyle Show.
Welcome to the Retirement Lifestyle Show. I'm Roshan Loungani, your co-host, here as always with Erik Olson and Adrian Nicholson. Today we have a special guest with us, joining us for the third time, as Erik said earlier, setting a record. We've got Jill Myers of Yodea Wellness. She's an integrative nutrition health coach, and she is going to get us ready for the end of the year and all the holidays. I'm really excited about this topic. Jill, can you give us a little background on why this is important for everyone?
So the holidays are supposed to be like a joyous time. Everyone's celebrating, but for a lot of people, it can be a time of significant stress for a variety of reasons. And stress, from where I sit as a health coach, is a big factor in dis-ease in the body. It can cause inflammation, it can cause digestive issues, it can disrupt your nervous system. And so trying to find a way to regulate, modulate, reduce, manage, pick a word that you want. The stress during the holidays will go a long way to bolster your immune system, help your health and wellness, and help you get through the holidays. You often find people getting sick during the holiday season. They're running ragged, they're trying to do too much. And if your underlying immune system is not strong and healthy, you end up sometimes not enjoying the holidays. So we have some things to talk about that can help you manage through and try to reduce your stress during this time.
Yeah, that sounds like all great topics. And just sometimes it can be the case like all year, you're just like running around, just working, doing this, activities, where the holidays is that time where you can kind of just, slow down a little bit, reflect, take some time to really maybe focus on yourself or some loved ones, like you said, to really kind of take off some of that stress that you might have experienced during the year, where you could really take some time to really look in and really take care of yourself. I think is really important, and you always want to enjoy the holidays. It's the time of year that I really look forward to. I'm really excited for this podcast and happy to have you here, Jill.
I'm so excited to be back. It's always fun to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well. I'm not doing this year, and I don't think I did it last year, but in the past I've said during the holidays, the more weight I gain, the more impressive my weight loss will look in the first quarter. And I don't want to go down that path this year. So Jill, I'm hoping you can help me through this holiday season.
I'll do my best, but I'm not the one putting the food in your mouth. So.
that is true. Yes. But let's get started there, though. About holidays, holiday parties, spending time with people, and I brought up the topic of just food and eating. How does someone approach that to make sure we stay healthy or not gain too much weight? That type of thought process with the holidays.
So I actually had, I think I have about 8 different tips that I was, jotting down before the podcast of things that you can try and do to moderate your intake. As you said, people often will gain a lot of weight during the holidays because there's excess and I have to eat everything and I've got to try it all. And sometimes people use food as an emotional regulator as well. So you can just jump right in, and just some things to think about if you're going to parties or hosting parties. The first thing is when you're going somewhere and to a party, a dinner, whatever it is maybe drink a glass or 2 of water before the event. Water can help fill you up, make you have a feeling of fullness, curb your appetite. And I think, as we talked last time, if you don't like plain water, you can, flavor it with berries or lemons or cucumbers or, different things. I feel like you're having something, but it can tell your body that you're already a little bit full. And if you listen to your body's cues and actually stop eating when you're like about 80% full, it gives your body time to digest. So those are two things. I go in with a mindset of I'm not going to eat until I'm stuffed. Like when I start to feel full, back away from the table, things like that. And reducing portion size. If you go to a Christmas dinner or a Hanukkah party or whatever other celebrations people have, New Year's, there's so much food often and you have to try everything. But maybe like take a smaller spoonful of everything instead of like a big portion on your plate. Taste everything, but taste it in smaller bites. And so you're not denying yourself in terms of flavor and texture and different types of foods, but just eat less of it. And just really it's being mindful. We often will go and say, oh my God, I have to have this. And, 3 spoonfuls of, or, big portions of mashed potatoes and things like that. So it's really thinking about before you go, what is my intention for this meal? What do I want to get out of this? If you are offered to bring something, maybe make something that's a little healthier. And we always say, oh, I don't want to bring a salad to Christmas dinner. But so if you go to my website, I have some desserts there called Bliss Balls. They're no sugar added, but they're full of flavor and sugar naturally with dates. And I have a few different flavors on there. It's something that my kids have really enjoyed. And there's recipes all over the internet to make things that are healthier versions of what you might be used to. And it's really being like courageous in changing up the menu. If you're the hostess or hostess, for the last number of Thanksgivings, because that's, the first holiday we're going to hit, I started to change up the menu. I'm still having a turkey, but, well, we actually never ate some of those things in our family, but instead of, the really heavy mashed potatoes with the gravy and the milk and the butter, maybe make a cauliflower mash or a sweet potato mash, which has a lot more nutrients in it and different flavor palette. And it's okay to change something and start new traditions. And I think some people, get stuck in that, but we've always had this for the holiday. It's okay to start new traditions. It's okay to bring in something new, and people may just love it. I mean, some of the things I've made, people go, oh my God, I never had this before. Thank you. This is so good. And it's being courageous to go outside of what we've always done.
Yeah, I really like that, Jill. It reminds me of last year, we kind of changed it up a little bit, and we wanted to bring kind of like an appetizer before Thanksgiving. And we never really introduced this to my family, but it was a charcuterie board, kind of like a little appetizer before Thanksgiving. And it's not like the healthiest thing in the world, but it has grapes, crackers, like salty nuts, kind of not fill you up, but kind of get you going before the real meal. And it was kind of a new thing that everybody really liked, and it was kind of a way to introduce it. So I really like that idea, and I'm a big fan of charcuterie board. I'm on that team all the way.
I don't even know what that is. So can you pronounce it a little more slowly?
I think, Jill, you've heard of it. It's a charcuterie board. It's like crackers, cheese, nuts. It can be grapes on there. It's kind of like a little bit like a spread sampler, appetizer to kind of get your palate going. So that's something new that we really like.
Well, I've seen that sort of plate, but I just didn't know that name.
I was new to it as well.
So actually, one thing that I did a few years ago, when you talk about something before Thanksgiving dinner, and these looked like they were all the rage on Facebook. That's where I found it, or in the newspaper. I don't remember. Was making a vegetable plate, with carrots and celery and I don't even remember, sliced peppers. There were all different kinds of things, just vegetables sliced up, and it was laid out in the shape of a turkey. So this big platter, round platter, it looked like a turkey, but it was all made with vegetables, and it was all, finger food. So it was a beautiful presentation, and you can make them in all kinds of shapes. People, go search Pinterest and Facebook, and you can find these ideas. But it was all healthy vegetables, maybe with a side, dipping of a salsa or something like that. But the focus was vegetables. So it gave people something to snack on, but it wasn't sugar. It wasn't fried. It was all healthy, but it was a beautiful presentation. I think, it was appreciated. and it looked good.
Yeah, it's super creative, and I know TikTok too is big with like recipes, like Facebook, Pinterest, all social media. It's kind of like so many, like hundreds. You could get so many like ideas for like healthy alternatives or ways to change it up. There's just so many out there that you can just like look into, and you just gotta be careful. You could literally be scrolling through recipes for days sometimes on these like social media apps. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a
So,
lot out there.
Jill,
Actually, one thing I just wanted to mention, Jill, you talked about your website and the recipes, so I just want to share that. The website is yodeawellness.com, YODAYAWELLNESS.com, and there's a link at the top for recipes. And you had mentioned the Bliss Ball, so I clicked on the snacks and saw that you have carrot cake, chocolate, and zesty lemon versions of them. So there's a lot of choice there in terms of what you're looking for the dessert alternatives.
yeah, that's great. Well, Jill, so I've just mentioned a few years back, well, my father-in-law passed away from diabetes mostly. And so my wife has been very sensitized to what we include in our diet. And a few years back, found this one approach that relies on a variety of natural sweeteners that are alternatives to sugar. And so, for example, stevia is a big part of when she uses a sweetener. And we've gotten away from a lot of the high carb, high sweet flavor and instead gone the vegetable route. But do you have any comments or thoughts about any of those? I know sometimes she tries to stay away from, what is it, the she calls them the loses, like sucralose and things like that. But she's okay with, what is it? I mean, probably gonna erythritol and other things like that. But stevia is a big part of it. Do you have thoughts about
So
that?
the ones that end in OS, the OSs, are labeled
Yeah.
the less favorable ones. The ones that end in OL are alcohol based. The stevia is a plant, and that's something that I've seen in a lot of the healthier recipes. Another thing that people use, I haven't tried this myself yet, but people use monk fruit. It's supposed to be a good sweetener,
Mm,
and that's in a lot of the recipes. I've yet to try that, but I see that often in a lot of the
mm,
healthier recipes. So good for
mm.
you
I
for,
haven't.
for switching away from those things.
Yeah, well, it's all attributable to her. She gets all the credit, and I just follow along. And I mean, for people who are wondering, oh man, Eric, I tried a recipe with that one time, and it was terrible. You know what? Her first few tries weren't that great, and I'm sure she would agree with me. But over time, sort of just adjusting and trying different stevia brands and formulations, and trying different how much goes in, et cetera, et cetera. She's gotten it to the point where it's almost, unmistakable for the regular sugar sweetened types of desserts when you have them. And cauliflower has become a big part of it. Yeah. So, I mean, I love what you're saying, and I see it's made a difference in our diet, I would say, over the course of time.
You mentioned monk fruit. I have not made anything with it, but I did get a cereal that has monk fruit in it, and
Mm,
it was pretty much tasted pretty much the same.
I think once you start eating a little bit differently and get away from the white processed refined sugars, your taste palette actually changes, and you can actually enjoy the sweetness of a strawberry or a blueberry, or from an orange. The sugars that come naturally in fruit, the white processed sugar is like so sweet that it's a different flavor palette. And when you remove that, you can actually, at least I find, enjoy the natural sweetness that exists in nature without having to add
mm,
all that other sugar to it. And I
mm,
can't eat
mm.
things that are with the processed sugar anymore. It's way too sweet for me. Um, just what you get used to. But,
Well, and Jill, you going back, you said you had 8 tips, and either I missed a couple.
yeah.
But you had said drink 1 to 2 glasses of water. Stop eating when you're 80% full. Small spoonfuls of everything instead of bigger portions. Think about what your intention is for the meal, and then bring something that's healthier. Did I miss the last two, or are you still yet to go over
No,
them?
I have a few more. So when you go to events, we talk about this in yoga and in different mindfulness practices, is setting an intention. Like, what is your intention when you're going to the family dinner or the Thanksgiving dinner or the holiday party or whatever, event you're attending? And instead of the intention being, and it may be an subconscious intention of, the food table, but go with the intention to enjoy the company, enjoy the people, and have the focus be on the interaction with people and celebrating the holiday and being grateful for, during Thanksgiving and the joyousness of the winter holidays and whatever everybody celebrates, instead of your intention being on the food. And so if you're focused elsewhere, the food is kind of like nourishment and sustenance for you. And yes, you enjoy the spread and everything that's put out, but go with the intention of enjoying yourself with a different purpose rather than the food. So that was one. And then this one is really if you're going to be a host or hostess and have the event in your house. And we do this at my house. Part of it is logistics, but instead of bringing all the food to the table, buffet, like I buffet everything on the kitchen counter if you have space. And so that's where all the food is put out. And the food is not sitting in front of us. Because if you sit at the Thanksgiving table and the bowl of sweet potatoes or mashed potatoes or green beans or whatever it is sitting right in front of you, people are more likely to stick fork in and have another serving. But if the food's not physically in front of you and you have to get up to go to the other room to get seconds, thirds, fourths, whatever it is, you may be more engaged in the table conversation and not thinking about continuing to eat. And so that's something I've been aware of, and I actually prefer to buffet in the kitchen just because it's easier. But it takes the food away from people who just mindlessly continue eating. And then,
yours truly. Oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
That's a great simple tip right there.
Yeah.
And then
I know I've been guilty of that.
Yeah. And one of the last ones, we started doing this a number of years ago, and it's a shout out to my cousin. When we finish the main portion of the meal, before we get into a dessert, some of the family members, it used to be all, now it's not everybody joins, but we'll go for a walk around the block and actually break up the meal. It gives you a chance to get off the chair, stretch your legs, and depending on the weather, I mean, sometimes at Thanksgiving, it can still be, 50 degrees outside here or more or less, whatever it is, but just get some fresh air in, move your body, enjoy the evening if you're eating, a dinner meal, and just enjoy that outside stretch and conversation before you come back in and indulge in dessert. It gives your body a chance to start digesting the food a little bit. And it's a nice change of pace for us. And so we still do that. A few of us will continue the tradition, but it's just something nice to do together. And leave all the dishes in the kitchen. They'll wait till tomorrow. They'll wait until, after the meal. But that's just something nice that we've started. So
yeah, I really like all those 3 tips. I feel like I have a story for each one of them. Like the last one you mentioned, now what we kind of do is we have a lot of dogs now in the family, so we'll walk the dogs out to kind of get like an exercise and everything like that. So that's been fun. And then the hosting one, like you mentioned, me and my fiance, we love hosting like all the time. We don't like really going out to places. We'd rather have everybody like come to us than host and just enjoy it, where we'll have like the spread and the food and everything like in like the kitchen, and we'll eat like in the dining area or like the living room. That's a popular one. And then the social events where there's going to be like a lot of food, that really hits home with me because the engagement party last summer, like all these people were going to come up to me, like congratulate me, talk to me and everything. But I was also like, I was excited for that, but I was also excited for like all this like grilling and all this food. I was like really looking forward to it. So I was like, before I can even eat, I want to make sure like I greet, say hello, talk to everybody here before I can really, so to speak, like kick my shoes off and like just eat and kind of like relax, where I wasn't putting like food at the forefront. What I really wanted to do was just say hello and meet these people and just really enjoy it before I can, even enjoy it even more with some food. So those are all really good tips that hit home with me.
So I think I've covered all my tips on the food.
So you had also talked about ideas about finance and spending and gift giving. I'm fascinated to hear about this, particularly from a wellness coach, because we think about budgets a lot. We think about spending and allocating discretionary spending. So tell us, I mean, from a wellness standpoint, how do you view that?
So, when I work with clients, we look at a lot of different factors in your life in terms of what contributes to health and wellness. And finances is a can be a huge stressor for people. Do I have enough money? Do I have, enough saved? Do I have enough for retirement? I mean, you deal with some of that as well, I imagine, with your clients, their stress around finances, knowing that they'll have enough to retire on, especially in your area. And so that stress can be a mental stress for people. It can be a physical stress manifest in your body when they're anxious about it. And so going into the holidays, a time where people, may not have enough money to feel that they can buy the gifts they want to buy, or spending to travel, see family. There's a lot of money spent. I mean, if you just look at, you've got Black Friday, Cyber Tuesday, Cyber Monday, so many days left till Christmas. There's this big push to spend and buy. And not everybody has the wherewithal to do that. And there's, the sense of competition. Do I have enough? Am I getting the right gifts? I have to buy for everyone. And so that can just cause a lot of stress in people's lives. So some of the things that I wanted to put out there for people to consider is, like, as a family, if you're somebody who lost a job during COVID and your financial situation, has changed, and you just don't feel like you can do either what you wanted to or what you had in the past, is maybe this year, and a lot of people do this every year, make this time of year a time to be together, but give time, give of yourself, and do some volunteering. That's a way that you can do something as a family and give back to people in need instead of giving tangible things to, family members. I mean, the reality is, how much of us really need half of what we get as gifts? But there's this feeling that I have to buy something because it's got to have a box that I can give to someone that they can open. And, those are traditions in different cultures and families. But maybe you give the gift of time and you do it together and spend time with people. And I find, at least for me, spending time with people is so much more valuable than the thing that they gave me that might sit on my shelf, or, I mean, that's my my personality. But it's just an idea to use time as a gift instead of money, to kind of deal with, maybe not having enough that you feel that you can. Another thing in terms of gift giving, I know some people would have to buy for my mother and my father and my sister and my brother and the cousin and the friend and the guy down the street and the mailman and all these people. And maybe you can get your family together. And I know some families who have done this already, is everybody picks a name. So you're giving a gift to one person, and it's instead of buying for everybody gets one name. Kind of like at school, it used to be like a Secret Santa or something like that, where the pressure is off to buy the perfect gift for everybody in your life. Because what is the perfect gift for everybody? It might be what you want to give, but when you look at what happens on December 26th, everybody's back in the stores returning things. Just, looking at this is, again, maybe, and instead of buying a gift for someone, give them an IOU, or not an IOU, but a homemade gift, if you will, a certificate for a home cooked meal, or a babysitting day so that they can go out and enjoy a date with their spouse. Or, there's all kinds of things you can get creative with to give of yourself rather than spending cash that you may not have. Or even worse, going into debt during the holidays. How many people rack up their credit cards during the holiday season only to get their bill, January 5th? It's like, oh my God, I've maxed out. Now I'm paying off interest on these gifts that I bought. And the cycle just continues. And so just things to think about, stay within your means and find other creative ways to give of yourself. And I think a lot of those personal gifts, they're a lot more appreciated, I think. But what do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
There was so much good information in there. I'm going to just highlight a couple that stood out to me. One is the volunteering, and I know this isn't exactly volunteering, but Erik, you've talked about the organization where you would give the Heifer Project. Is that what it's called?
Heifer Project, right?
Where you give someone. There are different types of animals you can give to villages in someone's name as a gift. I have a
the goat. You can give a goat, right? And chickens or something like that.
Goats,
this is one of like my favorite.
A flock of chickens, a true heifer. You set the price level.
I still need all those sheep for my corgi so we can herd them, Erik. I'm still waiting for that gift. It's this time of year, Erik. Come on.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me write that
There you
down.
go. So that's one I like. The other one, we did this a few years ago on my wife's side of the family. There are 9 grandkids. And at some point, it just seemed like such a waste with everyone getting stuff for them. So we do the Secret Santa for the nieces and nephews. That way, everyone gets something they want, but you don't end up. We ended up with. I'm pretty sure I still have some, but we had toys that I just put in the storage room because the kids got too much stuff to actually play with. And so then throughout the year, when they were good, we would let them pull one out later on. So at least they use them. And I think I still have a couple in there that they haven't used that I need to pull out before they get too old for them. But I love that idea of the Secret Santa.
Roshan, does Kyan still like the box more than the toy, or he likes the toys now?
Now he likes the toy. He likes cars now, but I had all 3 kids go through a phase where they liked the box more than they liked the toy. And I tried to convince my wife to just give them an empty box, but I didn't win that battle when I figured that one out. It's kind of like first birthday parties. Like they don't remember, right? So, but a lot of good tips in there. The last area you had touched on this briefly at the beginning, but the social and emotional aspects of the holidays, dealing with gatherings, parties, etc. Joe, what tips do you have for us for that part of the holiday season?
Okay, so I will put a disclaimer out. I am not a mental health provider, but mental health and wellness impacts your physical health, tremendously. Our thoughts and our feelings create our reality, and our bodies really can't distinguish between, real threats and the threats that we, or the stress that we, kind of put through our head. And, this time of year is where people gather. There's families have expectations of certain behaviors. Hear about people who have the worst time at the holidays because they may not like their family or they have family issues. They may have lost loved ones. They may be on their own and not have partners. And so this time that's supposed to be, joyous can be fraught with bringing up a lot of difficult emotions for people. And so just a few tips to try and help with that when people are having difficulties. First thing is setting boundaries for yourself. And it's okay to say no, okay to decide what you want to attend and what you don't want to attend. And just decide, how do you want to spend the holidays? I think we often spend much of our life doing what other people expect of us, doing what we think is really expected by, mom, dad, this one, that one. I have to show up because, I can't not. But if it's in your own best mental health to opt out of something, have the courage to do that and not feel guilty about it. And those are things that you can obviously, work through, with a therapist if it's a very difficult situation. But, take the pressure off yourself to be everything and to everybody else and start taking care of your own mental health. With that, connections are very important. People most need the human connection. So make sure that you're engaging somewhere with people during the holidays. And that's where the volunteering can come back in, especially at Thanksgiving. Maybe you've lost someone and you don't have a table to go to, or you're not feeling like you want to be part of something. There are so many places where you can take yourself to be a part of something and give back. Every single assisted living facility, nursing home, hospital, that's when a lot of staff want to take off to celebrate their own holidays. And there are shortages of people everywhere to help with meals, to help with just visiting residents. And it can be extremely fulfilling for you when you're not feeling well to actually give back to others and see the joy that you bring to those people. And it can really lift you up at these times by giving of yourself. So those are just things to consider, if you're struggling during the holidays. And then last, if you are struggling, reach out to somebody, a friend, a counselor, or, take time for yourself to have some meditative time and, consider what's going on in your life and make some plans for how you're going to help yourself move forward. Or just, some self-care. Take that bubble bath and take the night off. There's a lot of things that you can do, but I think we get stuck in, it's the holiday, I have to, because that's what society says I'm supposed to do, and that's what my family expects. But we really need to take care of our own mental health, and that self-care starts with yourself. So I don't know what you think about this.
Yeah, that's good counsel. I think we have a certain picture, and not everyone fits that picture in terms of what their options are. So I think I love the volunteering recommendation. I think that's fantastic. I would say that not only for people who maybe don't have anybody else to hang out with at the holidays, but also even if you do, I'm just thinking about the fact that, so our listeners know that I'm a grandfather, and as it happened, this last Saturday I was out at a conference for the week in Seattle, and I had a few hours. I deliberately actually scheduled my flight later in the day, and so I could go zip up to my daughter's home and spend time with her and my son-in-law and my two granddaughters. And it really struck me in that visit, even though it was just a few hours, just how much potential we have to influence those little munchkins, and start shaping their outlooks at a very, very early stage. So now that you say this, Jill, I'm thinking, yeah, we're going back there for Thanksgiving. Why don't we try to set something up where we volunteer and just have that be just another input, not only into the lives of all of us as adults, but also for those little ones, to give them a taste of that, of giving back and contributing in that way. I think it'd be good for all of us.
Well, and I think also for those of us who are privileged to, have our families and have, the resources to be able to have celebrations or travel to be with family. I remember, God, the kids were in high school. We drove over to the local food bank to, donate some food. The Thanksgiving food drives, they have them in the high school every year, put the canned foods, the canned pumpkin and the green beans and, the box of mashed potatoes and things so people can have. And I will tell you, I was just so moved. The line of people waiting to get to be able to have a Thanksgiving meal, because I was delivering on the afternoon that they were actually handing out. The line was so long. I mean, it was down the street, around the block. I don't want to say it was a quarter mile long, but the amount of people in need during the holidays. And so all these places, the local food banks, the shelters, they are just chock full of people in need. And especially now, I imagine with the last year and a lot of people out of work and things like that, there's such a need, and it just felt so good. It was heart-wrenching, but it also felt good to know that we were helping somebody have a holiday meal. Mm-hmm. And also it helps raise the kids with an understanding that not everybody has what you have.
Right.
Which I think is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. That'd be a great way. I was actually thinking about ways to volunteer, and if my 9-year-old's old enough to actually do something. Erik, what did you end up doing? You had said you put in time to volunteer, or have you planned what you're doing yet, or is that something you're going to work on?
Yeah, no, it just reminds me that typically what we've done, so we moved from Illinois to Michigan here recently, Jill, and so we're still kind of getting figured out how we get plugged into this community, but it was a regular thing for us in Northern Illinois that we would, in our case through our church, we would have this list of people. I mean, there was a really long list. I mean, hundreds of people, hundreds of families, I should say, that were, on not as resource rich. And so what we would do is we would just put together these Thanksgiving baskets, like you said, and we had a drive around list, and we would deliver, X number of meals to these families, and typically 3 or 4 per household that was participating in this. And so literally that the church would, I think, just if I recall correctly, was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 500 meals that it would deliver for, the Thanksgiving kit, let's put it that way, Thanksgiving kit on the morning of Thanksgiving. And it was fantastic. And I remember doing that with when our own children were young, and having them come along and be part of that and just shape their views. So I'm just sitting here as we're talking about this, thinking, okay, I wonder if in Seattle, where my kids are, if there's something of a comparable scale where we could just plug and play, get in on that, and make that part of what we do on Thanksgiving morning.
That's great. I need to spend some time looking into this. I think it'd be, and that delivering that you did, if there's something near me for that, I can take all the kids on those deliveries, right? It's not like there's an age limit.
Right.
We got a
sure.
van with plenty of space to put things in and deliver. So that'd be great.
I know the local service, the social service agencies, in the different communities. I know the Jewish Social Service Agency here in Rockville does, things like that for the different holidays. And I'm sure there's a lot of the churches that have Meals on Wheels and things like that have those types of things available that you can, sign up for, during the holiday time. There's a huge need. There's a huge need.
Yeah. These are a lot of great tips. I won't go over all of them, but I'll go over the categories that we covered today. And Jill, tell us if you have anything to add. But we went over food and how to approach eating, finances, how to approach spending and gift giving, and then social emotional stuff, taking care of your own mental health during the holidays. Does anyone have any other tips or anything else to add to any of these 3 categories?
I don't have anything about those 3 categories, but there is one other area that, Jill, I have a question about.
Okay.
So I think it told us that there were 12 factors that contribute to a happy, healthy person, and I know we've touched on a lot of things that I think would, but do you have a list of like just knock those 12 out?
I do. So the things that we look at are just looking at a person's entire life, their lifestyle, how they go through their day, which includes their career or what you do during your day, whether it's volunteer or paid, kind of what you spend most of your time doing. Your education, are you continuing to learn? Your overall health, your physical activity, where your food is prepared, like home cooking, your home environment, relationships, which can be, siblings, parents, kids, your social life, which is a different set of factors, how much joy you have in your life. Do you have a spiritual practice, your creativity, and your finances? So each one of those plays into your overall health and wellness. So like joy, for example, and finances. We had there's a woman out there, another financial planner, who talks about joyful spending and looking at your finances to say, am I spending on things that bring me joy? And where do you find joy in your life? That's something that lights you up. And if you don't have any of that in your life, then you're missing out on a piece of being, mentally healthier, if you will. We talk about creativity, and people look at that sometimes like, oh, but I can't draw. Well, creativity can be creating anything, whether it's creating how I'm going to plant my vegetable garden next year, or how I'm going to decorate my room, or how I'm going to solve a problem. It's using your brain to come up with ideas, and just having some creativity in your life. It just adds something to your overall existence here on this planet. So each one of these plays a role, and some of them can be just void from your life, so you're missing out on something. But some of these things can be stressors if they're not in a healthy environment. So for example, if you're in a job that might pay well, but you hate going every single day, you can either choose to, change your attitude about it, or find a new job, because that stress sits in your body, it lives in your cells, it can impact your digestion, your mental health, which can set off inflammation, set off disease. So it's really important to look at somebody's entire life when you're talking about their health. It's not just about how do I lose weight. So those are kind of all the things that we talk about with clients to make sure they're kind of a well-rounded person.
Yeah, that's a great list.
Yeah, and I was thinking when you said not just about losing weight, I feel like that's what most think about when they think about, I know that's not what wellness means, but when people think about health and wellness, I think weight's the first thing that comes up and maybe the only thing. So that's a great list.
Well, and I think that comes up because society tells us that you have to look a certain way to be beautiful. And so it's the external shape where, to me, the losing weight isn't just about losing the weight. It's about getting healthier. And how do you accomplish that? Because you can lose weight a lot of different ways, but it's not necessarily healthy for your body.
Healthy, yeah. Yeah, which is another side with all like those eating disorders, etc. So yeah, making sure you're healthy. And I like the connection, not only with the 12 factors, but when you talked about the both the finance and the social emotional aspects earlier, you had said how that all will come into overall wellness and the food, how you're eating as well.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we're it sounds like we probably are reaching the end of this conversation. Am I perceiving that correctly?
Yeah,
or
did
do
you have
any of
another question, Eric?
No, I don't, but I did want to make sure that we once again showcase, Jill, how people can locate you. So what's the best way if people are going, dang, I haven't done a sufficient inventory of all those sorts of things. It'd be very helpful to have Jill help me kind of do an inventory and examine some of these things. How would they reach out to you,
So
Jill?
there's several ways. I have a website, yodeawellness.com, which Roshan mentioned earlier. They can email me, jill@yodeawellness.com. I am on Instagram at Jill D. Myers. I am on LinkedIn as well, Jill Myers. So any of those, they all work.
Okay.
They all will get to me. And just, I would just want people to know that life's too short to get kind of caught up in all the stress. So just taking deep breath, being grateful for what we do have in our lives. And it's easy to find those things on a daily basis. One thing we didn't talk about, but is the physical movement to, get outside and take a walk during these holiday seasons, get out in nature. And I know the days are still getting shorter, but once the holiday seasons are over and we turn past the winter solstice, the days will start getting longer. So there's no excuse to not get outside during daylight. And before you know it, we'll be heading towards spring. So.
Yeah, that's great. And then Jill, just because I know that we've had, have you as a guest here for this now the third time, but I don't know that we've ever given people a clear picture of what it would look like to work with you. So what would an engagement with you look like? So they ring you up and they say, Jill, I think I probably need some help. What's that conversation going to be like about how you would proceed to help them? What would the process be like?
So I do a discovery call with them at first to see if, their issues are things that I believe that I can help them with, and that would be a good fit, me for them and them for me. And that there's a good connection there. And then I work with clients over a number of months, like a 50-minute session every 2 weeks. It takes time to kind of get into somebody's life and have them kind of put things on the table and try different things. The coaching environment is really about listening to see what's coming up for them. What are their trigger points?
Mm-hmm.
What do they want to work on? What goals do they have? And, we talk about some suggestions for the next session, and people need time to implement them, looking at different foods, looking at different exercises, looking at, different things in their life. So the visits are spaced out to give people a chance to try implement things and see what works and doesn't work, come back and kind of go through the next step. And, you kind of hit on all of these different areas of life, but we do an assessment at the beginning to see what are you happy with in your life and what are you not happy with? Maybe you love your career and you're in a great relationship, but you haven't figured out how to put a good exercise plan into your busy life. Now, I'm not a trainer, but we can talk about ways to figure out how to implement that in your life. And then maybe you work with a trainer or a gym or things online to actually, okay, am I doing push-ups or sit-ups or things like that? But figuring out how to change your behaviors and your outlook on these different things so that you can improve the different areas of your life.
So that would be every couple of weeks, maybe an hour. They go for several months. I would imagine that you allow there's an option for people to just continue that relationship and kind of get some tune-ups from time to time. If people have worked with you for a few months, then they but they don't want to just lose touch with you. What would you suggest is maybe a fruitful path for people thereafter to kind of keep refining their progress on some of these
things? With those things, those can be individual arrangements, whether, we check in monthly to see how they're continuing with their goals, check in every 2 weeks. So those are things that I, can design with each client as to, kind of after their initial, they've made, a lot of changes, check-ins over time. Those can be customized. Really, any of this can be customized with clients because we're all different. We all have different needs. And, lives take different paths. I worked with one client over the summer who, after about 4 sessions, she was just had so much going on in her life. She's like, I can't finish this right now. And so we kind of put a pin in it and, we'll pick up after the new year when some other life issues have, kind of settled down and she can come back and focus. So, okay. It's not you buy X and it's only this. There's, we're all different. We all have different needs and different schedules. So there's flexibility.
So if you're single, I think this question will answer itself. But if you're married, should people come in as a couple? Do people, is it sometimes just more fruitfully worked on at an individual level? How does that work?
I think it's probably better to work on things individually because we are individuals. If somebody, has in their goal, we want our family to be eating healthier and they want it to be, focused around how do we change our mindset around food or something like that where the whole family is involved. That might be something that you could do, as a couple. Again, if you're looking for relationship things, I'm not a therapist. So, there's things that you might take if there's relationship issues as a couple to, a counselor in that arena. But, we are all individual people on this planet. And so your own mindset, your own behaviors, just because you have a partner doesn't necessarily mean they think the same way or are going to view things the same way in terms of, achieving your goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, thank you, Jill, for allowing me to explore that with you a little bit.
Yeah, that was very helpful in sharing with people what you do aside from just giving these helpful tips, how you can actually have a more impactful relationship with them.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you.
Great questions, Erik.
No, thank you for the opportunity to join your podcast. It's so much fun to talk with you guys, and I really hope your listeners, take something away and, have a joyful holiday. So I'll leave you with the happy holidays. I have eat light, spend less, enjoy more, and just be grateful.
That is great.
Good stuff, Jill.
That's wonderful. The great way to end the podcast. This has been another episode of the Retirement Lifestyle Show. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends and family. Visit our website, theretirementlifestyleshow.com. Visit Jill's website, yodeawellness.com. You can reach out to her that way, get a lot of great recipes. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week.